This is your host, Danny, and this is a new Word Power episode from English Plus Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to learn 10 new words, and these words are accolade, garner, rash, fury, perilous, devastate, extensive, transitory, primarily, and colleague, all in the context of our story about tornadoes. But before we do that, let me tell you that there is a lot more you can learn on my website, EnglishPlusPodcast.com. If you go to EnglishPlusPodcast.com to the custom post that I created, you will find the link in the description of the episode. You will have access to all the practice I have in store for you. Now, the practice includes interactive activities and a PDF downloadable worksheet that you can use to practice the words, to practice these 10 words that we've learned, and also you will practice the 10 words from the earlier episode, the earlier Word Power episode. And to be honest, this is the only way you can keep these words in your active vocabulary bank, this bank that you can use, the bank of words you can use, not only understand, but you can use in your own writing and speaking. But before we start, I will have to talk about the new Patreon program that I will start applying as of today. Now, for the ones of you who've known me for a while, the ones of you who've been fans of English Plus for a long time, you must know by now how much it hurts me to put a price tag to anything I do. I would love to give out everything I create for free. But reality is not that simple. There are a lot of bills to pay, and running the podcast itself and the website and everything else actually costs money. So as I talked last week, English Plus is in danger, and we're still not on the safe side. And saying that, I would like to thank the people who responded to my call last week and became patrons of English Plus, because that really does help. But to be able to continue, I need more patrons. I'm so grateful to the 8 patrons that I have so far, but until the end of the year, I need at least 50 patrons to be able to continue creating the content that I'm creating. And that brings me to the new Patreon program. Now, the new Patreon program offers a lot of benefits, and I'm adding a lot of benefits, not to say that there are premium benefits only for the people who pay, but my idea is that I can encourage people to contribute. And by contributing, I'm also serving the people who are listening to free content, because that will ensure that this free content will never stop. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. If you have any ideas, please let me know. But at least this is what I came up with. Now, I will talk a little bit about the Patreon program. And by the way, if you would like to become a patron, there is this link that will take you to my Patreon page. You can become a patron. I only have one tier, which is Premium All Access. And by joining this tier for $5 a month, you will have access to a lot of benefits. I will talk about these benefits because these benefits have changed over time, but now this is what I'm going to stick to till at least the end of this year. At the end of the year, I may add to them, I may change them, but hopefully that will get us enough patrons by the end of the year to keep English Plus and all the other content that I'm creating around English Plus alive. Let me tell you about the benefits. What will you get if you become patrons on Patreon? The first thing you will get is that you will have full catalog access. You will access the full archive of English Plus Podcast with more than 600 episodes in store. I will always keep the latest 50 up to 100 episodes available to everyone, but I will archive all the earlier episodes. So now if you check the episodes, you will find out that there are only 50 to 60 episodes available, but all the earlier episodes are gone. Well, actually, they're not gone. They're on my website, English Plus Podcast Archive. There you will find all the episodes, but of course, you'll need to be a patron to access the full catalog. So that is the first benefit. The second benefit is the Premium Audio Courses Permanent Access. That is a step-by-step business, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and more audio courses with exercises and answer walkthroughs. I will start with 2 courses, business course and the grammar course. Every week there is one new lesson. It is a huge lesson, and it is a walkthrough, step-by-step, just like I'm sitting right there with you. It's not going to be just one long piece of audio and then exercises. No, it is going to be audio. Then I ask you to do something, read something, maybe do some exercise, and then we do it together. So the audio will be in chunks as if I were sitting with you in the same room, talking to you, and then giving you tasks. Then you do the tasks, then I talk again, and so on and so forth. So it is going to be a new way to learn using the audio courses, this new feature. You will also get that if you become patrons. There's also the Series Plus. You will have access to all premium audio series that I create, including English series, business series, literature, and more. If you become patrons, you will also have access to Writing Plus, which is coming in early October. Every 2 weeks, we will have writing workshops. And in those writing workshops, we will focus on one area of writing, maybe writing paragraphs, essays, descriptive writing, argumentative writing, etc. We will focus on one big topic, but this is not the best thing you get because you are patrons. The best thing you get is that you will be able to send me the assignments. And now for a very limited time at this tier, I will check the assignments and give you personalized feedback on your assignments if you become patrons. There's also the Book Club VIP access, which is coming soon. I'm not going to talk a lot about that because I'm still figuring out a couple of details, but it is definitely coming next month. And then there's also Fiction Plus. That is another benefit you get if you become patrons. You will have early access to all my original novels, poetry, music before I release them publicly. Maybe some of you are interested in what I write, maybe some of you are not, so that might not be a big deal for some of you, but for some who love my writing and my music might find that a great benefit, and that might encourage you to become my patrons. And finally, you will have access to free books and Udemy courses on demand. Of course, I'm not talking about free books, I'm talking about my books and my Udemy courses. If you would like to get any of my published books or Udemy courses for free, all you have to do is ask. Let me know which books or courses or both, or maybe all of them, that you would like to get, and I will send you free coupons for my Udemy courses and free copies of my books, of my published books. I have 5 published books, 1 novel, Long Way From Home, the Antichrist short story collection, and I have 3 poetry collections. If you would like to get these free books or my 6 Udemy courses, any one of them or all of them, also you can ask. And here, I'm not just saying that you have to ask and this is going to be awkward, you're not going to ask. No, I'm just saying that if you're interested in one of them, I'm not just going to give free coupons and free books if you're not interested in reading the books or taking the courses. But if you're really interested, I would definitely love to give you those free books and Udemy courses for free. So to recap, I added 7 special benefits for my patrons. You get the full catalog access, premium audio courses, permanent access, Series Plus, Writing Plus, Book Club VIP access, Fiction Plus, and free books and Udemy courses on demand. Now, I hope that encourages some of you to become patrons because, again, my idea is not just to get more money. Of course, it is important to continue, it is necessary to continue whatever you do in this life because everything you do needs money, but this is not the point. As much as the way I think about it, if I can get more money from patrons, I will be able to continue serving everyone around the world for free, as much free content as possible. That's my point. That's the whole thing. That's what I dream about doing. And hopefully you will help me do that. If you would like to become patrons, the link is in the description of the episode. And sorry for this long introduction or long information about my Patreon program, because as I told you, it is essential for the survival of this podcast and all the other content that I create alongside this podcast. And now, without further ado, let's move to today's episode, Word Power Tornadoes, where we're going to learn 10 new words in context. That's coming next. Filled with exciting special effects, the 1996 movie Twister attempted to show the awesome force of tornadoes. It also pretended to show how weather researchers study tornadoes. In the movie, fictional meteorologists actually chased tornadoes. Movie fans all over the world responded to the film with enthusiastic accolades. However, the film also garnered severe criticism from educators and meteorologists. Its fictional scientists did not act wisely or even realistically. In fact, they rashly put themselves in the paths of raging tornadoes over and over again. Whirling with tremendous fury at speeds of up to 500 miles per hour, tornadoes are nature's most perilous storms. In minutes, a tornado can devastate everything in its path. When a tornado touched down in Jarrell, Texas in 1997, the destruction was extensive. A housing development was destroyed, 29 people were killed, and hundreds were left homeless. Shaped like a tall, thin funnel, a tornado's path is quite narrow and unpredictable. If a tornado strikes a neighborhood, for example, it might destroy houses on one side of the street and leave those on the other side of the street untouched. Although terribly destructive, tornadoes are quite transitory. Most last only a few minutes. Tornadoes can occur at any time of year and have been spotted in all regions of the United States. However, the most severe tornadoes occur primarily in the spring in the Midwest and Texas. Masses of hot city air exist in the atmosphere above the southwestern plateau of New Mexico. When these winds move eastward, they meet the humid, moist air of the Mississippi Valley and the Gulf of Mexico. The mixture of these air masses often leads to a violent thunderstorm, which can develop into a tornado. Tornadoes form so rapidly that there is little warning. However, Dr. Joshua Verman and his colleagues at the University of Oklahoma and the National Severe Storms Laboratory recently made a breakthrough in tornado research. They have developed a truck-mounted radar device that measures the wind speeds and the upward and downward drafts within a tornado's funnel. With greater knowledge, we may one day be able to lengthen warning times from, say, 5 minutes to 15 minutes, Dr. Verman stated. That margin could save lives by giving people a little more time to run to storm cellars. So, that was our story about tornadoes. I hope you learned something about tornadoes that you didn't know about before, but now it's time for our 10 words. The 10 words that we're going to talk about based on our story of tornadoes today. And let me remind you again, these words are accolade, garner, rash, fury, perilous, devastate, extensive, transitory, primarily, and colleague. And that's coming next. Now let me start with the very first word, accolade. A-C-C-O-L-A-D-E. Accolade. Now let's take a look at how we use that in context. We said movie fans all over the world responded to the film with enthusiastic accolades. Of course, here we're talking about the movie Twister. But what does that mean? Responded with accolades, with enthusiastic accolades. If someone is given an accolade, something is done or said about them which shows how much people admire them. So it's like honor, awards, recognition, tribute, etc. Something great. However, at the same time, the film also garnered severe criticism from educators and meteorologists. Garner, that's our next word, G-A-R-N-E-R. What is the meaning of garner? Yes, the movie received a lot of accolades, people liked it very much, but it garnered severe criticism from educators and meteorologists. Garner, what does that mean? That's our word. If someone has garnered something useful or valuable, they have gained it or collected it. Well, in this case, severe criticism, we cannot say if it is useful or valuable or not, but criticism, when it is based on logic, it is always useful. But anyway, our word garner simply means to collect, to assemble, to gather, to accumulate, something like that. So the film also collected, accumulated severe criticism, gathered severe criticism, not only accolades from people, severe criticism from educators and meteorologists. Why? Because the way meteorologists behaved in the movie was not realistic. Now here we come to the next word, rash, R-A-S-H. In the text we said, in fact, they rashly put themselves in the paths of raging tornadoes over and over again. And that's not very wise. And that's not actually realistic. You don't do that in real life because you can easily get killed if you do that. It is too risky. But here, the word is rash. They rashly put themselves in the paths of raging tornadoes over and over again. Now, it comes from the word rash. What does that mean? If someone is rash or does rash things, just like our example, they act without thinking carefully first and therefore make mistakes or behave foolishly. And that's why there was a lot of criticism. That's why the film also garnered severe criticism from educators and meteorologists. So these were our first three words: accolade, garner, and rash. Next, we'll talk about fury, perilous, devastate, and extensive. That's coming next. So let's talk about our next word, fury, F-U-R-Y. Let's see how we use that in context. We said whirling with tremendous fury at speeds of up to 500 miles per hour, tornadoes are nature's most perilous storms. Actually, here we have two words. We have the word fury and perilous. Let's start talking about fury. Here we said whirling with tremendous fury. Well, why do we use fury here? We're talking about tornado, right? It can't have feelings, but it is the perfect word to use for storms like this. Fury is violent or very strong anger. Of course, the tornado is not angry, can never be angry. The tornado is just a natural phenomenon, right? But the way it strikes land and destroys things, it looks like something that is very angry. That's why we use this word. Of course, metaphorically speaking, but this is the word fury. Fury is violent or very strong anger. And we continued and said that tornadoes are nature's most perilous storms. Perilous, our next word, P-E-R-I-L-O-U-S. What does that mean? Something that is perilous is very dangerous. So it works. Tornadoes are very angry and very dangerous. So these are two new words from this sentence. Let's talk about the next word, devastate. We're talking about something that is angry, something that is dangerous. So in minutes, a tornado can devastate everything in its path. D-E-V-A-S-T-A-T-E, devastate. What does that mean? Now, if something devastates an area or a place, it damages it very badly or destroys it totally. And that is exactly what happens with tornadoes. Tornadoes can devastate everything in their path. And that's why we use the words fury and perilous to describe tornadoes. And to talk more about the devastation, or to give an example of this devastation, we talked about the tornado that touched in Gerald, Texas in 1997. The destruction was extensive. That is our next word, extensive. E-X-T-E-N-S-I-V-E. What does that mean? We use extensive in the context here to simply say it is very great. It is large, huge. It is great, extensive. That was the scale of destruction with this 1997 tornado. So these were four more words we learned: fury, perilous, devastate, and extensive. We are left with the last three words: transitory, primarily, and colleague. That's coming next. So let's start with the very first word, transitory. We said, although terribly destructive, tornadoes are quite transitory. Most last only a few minutes, so that should give you a hint of what transitory means. But first, let's see how we can spell transitory. It's T-R-A-N-S-I-T-O-R-Y, transitory. Now, if you say something is transitory, you mean that it lasts only for a short period. This is just like saying short-lived, short, passing, brief. You're not talking about something that is permanent or lasts for a very long time. It is transitory. It lasts only for a short time. So that is the meaning of transitory. Now for our next word, primarily, P-R-I-M-A-R-I-L-Y. In our tornado story, we said, however, the most severe tornadoes occur primarily in the spring in the Midwest and Texas. Now, when we say something occur primarily, what does that mean? You use primarily to say what is mainly true in a particular situation. Like say generally, mainly, chiefly, largely, something like that. Primarily happen in this time, in those areas. That is the word primarily. And finally, we talked about Dr. Joshua and his colleagues who recently made a breakthrough in tornado research. Now, Dr. Joshua, obviously, the person who did the research, but what about his colleagues? When we talk about colleagues or a colleague, we can use it in singular if we want. First of all, how do we spell this word? It's C-O-L-L-E-A-G-U-E, colleague. What does that mean? Your colleagues are the people you work with, especially in a professional job. So Dr. Joshua and his colleagues recently made a breakthrough in tornado research. Obviously, this kind of research cannot be done by one person. There needs to be colleagues. There needs to be those people who you work with, people who help you. And that will be the last word for today's episode, but that's not going to be the last word for English Plus, right? We're going to have more words next week in our Word Power episode, so stay tuned until next week. But you have a lot to do before you come back for next week's Word Power episode. Take the link you can find in the description of the episode, go to the custom post I created on my website, EnglishPlusPodcast.com, and you will find everything you need to practice what we learned in this episode. You will have interactive activities. You will have a PDF downloadable worksheet. You don't have to do them all at the same time, and that's exactly the point. I made many exercises because I know that you're not going to do them all at once. I don't actually want you to do them all at once. I want you to do them over time so you can have some spaced repetition. You might learn a little bit tomorrow, in 2 days, in a week, in a month, so that you make these words permanent in your active vocabulary bank. And also, don't forget about the Patron program. I have prepared great benefits for my patrons, but also you will be benefiting me a lot and benefiting everybody else who is listening to English Plus, and you will be helping our podcast survive forever. With that being said, this is your host, Danny. I would like to thank you very much for listening to another episode from English Plus Podcast. I will see you next time.